Marcus Chen, 550,000 TikTok followers, crouched behind a stone angel at Oakwood Memorial Gardens with his phone out, framing the perfect shot. 81 bikers from the Iron Cross Veterans MC had gathered to bury Thomas Bear Sullivan, a 71-year-old Navy corpsman who'd survived 2 tours in Vietnam, but not the lung cancer that finally took him. Marcus's voiceover was already scripted in his mind. Found the most dramatic funeral ever. These old guys are literally sobbing like someone stole their Harley. Wait for the cringe salute. He zoomed in on Hammer, Bear's best friend of 45 years, whose weathered face crumpled as he placed a Navy flag on the casket with shaking hands. "This is going to blow up," Marcus whispered, already seeing the engagement metrics. Emotional bikers? Easy million views. He edged closer, stabilizing his phone, capturing every angle. The leather vests covered in patches and pins. The gray-haired men wiping tears without shame. The way they stood at attention in perfect military formation, hands over hearts. To Marcus, it was content gold. To them, it was farewell to the brother who'd saved 3 lives in Da Nang, who'd held dying boys and promised to write their mothers, who'd spent 40 years volunteering at the VA hospital helping veterans nobody else remembered. Marcus posted it during the eulogy. The caption: "These boomers really acting like they're in a movie. The fake military cosplay has me screaming. Chuntuasha biker talk. Chuntuasha cringe. Ososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososososos within hours. Comments from his followers poured in. Why they more dramatic than my grandma at Thanksgiving, Lamau? Bro really died and they treating it like Avengers Endgame. The matching vests I cannot. This is what happens when boomers discover emotions. Marcus watched his numbers climb. 565K followers, 580K, 600K. This would bring sponsorships, maybe even a brand deal with that energy drink company. Before we continue, tell us where you're watching from. It's always amazing to see viewers from all around the world. And if stories about kindness and second chances impress you, hit that subscribe button. But only if you truly want to. Now, let's see what happened next to Marcus. He didn't see Hammer watching him film from across the cemetery. He didn't hear the funeral director quietly informing the bikers that some young man is recording you for social media. He didn't notice the way 30 veterans' jaws clenched, fighting decades of training that taught them how to neutralize threats. Reaper, the club's road captain, started moving toward Marcus. Hammer stopped him with a gentle hand on his shoulder. Not here. Not at Bear's funeral. He'd tell us to let it go. That punk just disrespected every man here. I know exactly what he did, Hammer said quietly, his voice steady despite the tears still wet on his face. But Bear would say the kid doesn't understand what he's mocking. Not yet. Maybe he needs to understand, Reaper growled. But they honored Bear's memory by choosing restraint. They buried their brother with full military honors. They returned to their clubhouse and raised glasses to the man who'd taught them all that strength meant protecting, not destroying. And they tried to forget the kid with the camera. Marcus, meanwhile, rode the viral wave. The video hit 2.8 million views. His follow-up videos mocking boomer bikers each pulled over 600K. He started a series called Funeral Cringe Compilation. His audience loved it. Then, 3 weeks later, Marcus's world collapsed. The Instagram DM came at 3 a.m. Marcus was still awake, scrolling through comments when he saw it. An account with 0 followers created that day. I have the video of what you did to Mrs. Chen. You have 48 hours to pay $75,000, or I send it to everyone. Your family, your sponsors, the police, everyone. Marcus's blood turned to ice. Mrs. Chen, the elderly woman from 6 months ago, his own distant aunt, his grandmother's sister, who he'd gotten into an argument with at a family gathering. She'd criticized him, called his videos disrespectful, said he was wasting his life, said he brought shame to the family. And he'd been drunk. So angry. He'd shoved her, hard. She'd fallen, hit her head on the corner of a table. Blood everywhere, concussion, broken wrist. The family had covered it up, paid her medical bills, begged her not to press charges. She'd agreed, for the family's honor. But someone had filmed it. Someone at that party had recorded everything. Marcus spent the next week in pure panic. The blackmailer sent preview clips, grainy but clear enough. Marcus shoving his elderly aunt, her falling, him standing there not helping, just cursing at her for ruining the party. He tried to get the money, tried to borrow from friends, maxed out credit cards. His parents didn't have that kind of cash. His TikTok earnings had gone to a new car and designer clothes. The deadline came and went. Marcus couldn't pay. At 8 p.m. on day 3, the video went public. Not just to his followers, to everyone. Every brand he worked with, every sponsor, his university, his extended family, local news, and worst of all, the police. The response was instantaneous and devastating. He lost 450,000 followers in 12 hours. His remaining followers turned vicious. Death threats flooded his inbox. Every sponsor dropped him immediately. His university suspended him. His family was horrified all over again. But worse than the professional destruction was his grandmother's face when she realized the truth had come out. The shame in her eyes. The way she turned away from him, shoulders shaking with sobs for her injured sister and her disgraceful grandson. Marcus's address leaked within a day. Someone posted it with the message, "This coward beats old women. Let's pay him a visit." The first group showed up at midnight. 7 people, maybe college-aged, pounding on his apartment door. "Come out! Face what you did to that old woman!" Marcus called the police. They said they'd send someone when available. Busy night. High-priority calls. The banging intensified. A window shattered. Marcus grabbed his keys and wallet, ran for the back exit. He had to escape, had to get away, had to... 4 more people were waiting by his car. One held a bat. "You Marcus Chen? The one who beats up old ladies?" Marcus ran. He'd been in track years ago, but months of sedentary content creation had destroyed his stamina. They were gaining fast. He cut through an alley, vaulted a fence, crashed through someone's yard. His lungs screamed. His legs felt like lead. He could hear them behind him, shouting threats that made his skin crawl. He burst onto 4th Street, straight into traffic. Horns blared, brakes shrieked. Marcus stumbled across lanes, nearly getting hit by a truck. He saw lights ahead. The Steel Horse Saloon. Open sign glowing. People inside. He sprinted for it like his life depended on it. Because it did. Marcus crashed through the saloon doors and immediately realized his terrible mistake. The bar was packed with bikers. 40, maybe 50 of them. Every vest bore the Iron Cross Veterans MC patch, including Hammer, who looked up from his bourbon with instant, cold recognition. "Well," Hammer said slowly, setting down his glass, "if it isn't the famous TikToker." Marcus backed toward the door, but the mob chasing him had caught up. They stopped outside, seeing the wall of bikers suddenly uncertain. "Please," Marcus gasped, hands raised. "Those people, they want to kill me?" "Yeah, we saw the video," Reaper said, his voice like gravel. "Saw what you did to that old woman, your own family. Saw what you posted at Bear's funeral, too." "I'm sorry. I was drunk. I didn't mean to hurt her." "You didn't mean to," Hammer repeated, standing slowly. "Same excuse every coward uses. Didn't mean it. Didn't think. Just pushed. Just hurt. Just ran." The mob outside was growing bolder. One stepped through the door. "He beat up an elderly woman. We're just here to deliver justice." Hammer walked to the doorway. At 6'3" and 260 pounds of muscle, he filled the space completely. "You want justice? Call the cops. Press charges. Be witnesses if there's a trial. But you're not coming into my bar to beat anyone. You're protecting him? After what he did to an old lady? I'm protecting the law, Hammer said evenly. You don't get to decide who gets beaten in the street. That's mob violence, and it never ends well. One of the college kids sneered. What, you gonna protect someone who hurts old people? That make you tough? The temperature dropped. Every biker stood. Several were older men who'd probably served with people who protected the elderly, not hurt them. Get out of my bar, Hammer said quietly, dangerously. Before my brothers here, who actually know what honor means, teach you a lesson about respect. They left. Quickly. Hammer turned to Marcus, who'd collapsed into a chair, trembling. Don't think this means you're safe. Thank you, Marcus whispered. Thank you. I don't know what they would have done. I know exactly what they would have done, Hammer said. Same thing I want to do. Same thing every man here wants to do when we hear about someone hurting a defenseless old woman. But we don't. Know why? Marcus shook his head. Because we fought in wars so people could have trials. Because we believe in the system, even when the system fails. Because we're better than our worst impulses. Hammer sat across from him. Something you desperately need to learn. I know, I'm so sorry. Sorry for what? For hurting your aunt? Or for getting caught on video? Marcus's mouth worked silently. That's what I thought, Hammer said. You're sorry your life's ruined. Not sorry for what you did. I was drunk. She was criticizing me. So, being criticized doesn't give you the right to put your hands on an elderly woman. Being drunk doesn't either. Reaper appeared with a beer for Hammer. He stared at Marcus with disgust. We should throw him back to the wolves. No, Hammer said. Bear wouldn't want that. Bear's gone. Which is exactly why we honor what he taught us. Hammer took a drink. Bear would have said this kid needs to face real consequences, not street justice. Marcus looked up. Bear, the guy from the funeral. The man whose funeral you turned into entertainment, Hammer confirmed. That Bear. I really am sorry about that, Marcus said quickly. I needed the views. My numbers were dropping. I wasn't thinking. You keep saying that, Hammer interrupted. That you weren't thinking. When are you going to start? Marcus had no answer. Hammer drank slowly, studying Marcus. You know what Bear did after the war? No. He ran a senior center, worked with elderly veterans and their spouses, made sure they had meals, company medical care, protected them. Hammer leaned forward. You know why? Marcus shook his head. Because in Vietnam, Bear saw what happens when the vulnerable aren't protected. Saw old people caught in crossfire, hurt by soldiers who stopped seeing them as human. It broke something in him. He spent 50 years making sure the elderly in his community were safe, valued, protected. Marcus felt sick. Bear's wife, Dorothy, has dementia now, lives in a care facility. Bear visited her every single day until he died, even when she didn't remember him. Hammer's eyes were hard. And you showed up at his funeral and mocked the men crying for a man who dedicated his life to protecting people like the aunt you hurt. I didn't know. Of course you didn't. You were too busy chasing fame to think about who you were mocking. Hammer finished his beer. Here's your choice. You sit here until the cops arrive. I already called them. They're coming because there's a mob outside and because that video shows you committing assault. I'll go to jail. Maybe, probably. Your aunt might press charges now that it's public. The DA might prosecute regardless. Hammer shrugged. But you can face it like a man, or you can run and make it worse. Why are you helping me at all? Hammer was quiet for a long moment. I don't know if I am helping you. Maybe I'm just making sure justice works the right way. He paused. But Bear believed people could change, even people who'd done terrible things, and I owe it to him to give you the same chance someone gave me. What if I can't change? Then you'll be exactly what you are now, a coward who hurts the weak and runs from consequences. But at least you'll have had the chance. The police arrived within minutes. Hammer walked Marcus to the patrol car, his frame shielding Marcus from the angry crowd. People threw things, shouted, demanded violence. Hammer didn't flinch. At the car, Marcus turned. "Why did you really protect me?" Hammer looked at him steadily. "Because 30 years ago I hurt someone weaker than me, got drunk, got angry, used my fists. I would have gone to prison. But Bear saw something worth saving. Worked with me for years, helped me face what I'd done, taught me to be better." He put a hand on Marcus's shoulder. "I'm a good man now, but I wasn't always. Bear made me better. I owe him the chance to see if you can be better too." Marcus was arrested and charged with assault. His aunt, seeing the video go public, decided to press charges fully. The trial took 7 months. Marcus pled guilty and showed genuine remorse. He received 18 months in county jail, 3 years probation, and was ordered to pay restitution. But something else happened. His aunt, after Marcus's sentencing, asked to speak with Hammer. "Why did you protect him?" she asked, still healing from her injuries. "After what he did?" "I didn't protect him from consequences," Hammer said gently. "I protected him from mob violence so he could face real justice. That's what Bear would have wanted." She cried then. "Bear came to see me in the hospital, before he died. Told me Marcus needed help, not just punishment. I was too angry to listen." "Bear had a gift for seeing past people's worst moments," Hammer said. "He saw the person they could become." Marcus served his full sentence. No early release. He didn't ask for one. In jail, he took every anger management class, every counseling session, every educational program available. He wrote his aunt letters. She never responded. He didn't expect her to. When Marcus was released, Hammer was waiting outside. The same truck, same vest, just older and more gray. "Why are you here?" Marcus asked. "Because Bear would have been here, and I promised him I'd finish what he started with broken people." Hammer drove Marcus to a halfway house, helped him find work, got him into real counseling, connected him with programs that helped people who'd been violent learn to change. "I don't deserve this," Marcus said after the first month. "No," Hammer agreed, "but grace isn't about deserving. It's about receiving it and passing it on." "How do I pass it on?" "You become someone Bear's time would have been worth spending on." It took 3 years. Marcus worked warehouse jobs, attended every session, volunteered at the senior center Bear had founded, helping the elderly he'd once hurt through his actions. He spoke to young people about consequences, violence, and accountability. He never tried to rebuild his social media, never sought fame. Just worked, learned, and tried to be better. His aunt saw one of his talks. Someone had shared it in a family group chat. In it, Marcus told the complete truth. Didn't minimize, didn't excuse, just owned what he'd done. She wrote him one letter. Just one. "I don't forgive you. I may never forgive you. The pain you caused still affects me daily. But I see you're trying to be better. That's more than you were before. That's something." Marcus framed that letter. Not as forgiveness, as a reminder of the harm he'd caused and the work still ahead. 4 years after his release, Marcus was speaking at a community center when Hammer showed up in the back. After the talk, people surrounded Marcus with real questions. He answered honestly, without deflection. When they cleared out, Hammer approached. "Bear would have been proud of this work," Hammer said. "You think so?" "I know so." Hammer showed Marcus old footage, a young Hammer decades ago, speaking about his own violence and recovery. "Bear made me give this talk for 3 years, said I had to own what I'd done and help others." Marcus understood. The bikers at the funeral weren't playing tough guy. They were saved men helping save others. "That night at the bar," Marcus said, "you wanted to hurt me. Why didn't you?" "Because Bear taught me that violence is easy, change is hard. Any fool can throw a punch. Takes a real man to offer redemption instead." Today, Marcus runs a program called Bear's Second Chances, focused on helping young people who've committed violence take real accountability. It's not about excusing behavior. It's about facing consequences and becoming better. Hammer and 3 other Iron Cross members sit on the board. They fund it through memorial rides. Every year on Bear's death anniversary, they ride to raise money for elder care and violence prevention. His aunt spoke at last year's ride. She didn't speak to Marcus, but she thanked Hammer for ensuring justice happened the right way. "Bear would be proud of you," she told Hammer. "Bear would be proud of you for choosing healing over hatred," Hammer replied. Marcus watched from a distance. He knew he had no right to approach her, but he saw her speaking, surviving, helping others, and he was grateful she was okay. His phone buzzed, text from Hammer. "Got a new kid, 20 years old, shoved his grandfather, facing charges. Scared and making excuses. Need someone to talk to him. You available?" Marcus responded immediately. "I'll be there in 20 minutes. Because that's what Bear's second chances meant. You received grace. Then you passed it on, over and over, until the world had fewer violent people and more people trying to be better. Marcus never posted another video, never sought fame, but he kept Bear's photo in his office, from the funeral. Hammer crying over his best friend. Now it reminded him why the work mattered. Those weren't fake tears. That was real love, real loss, real men mourning a real hero who protected the vulnerable. And that hero had saved Marcus's life, even after death, because Hammer learned from the best. And now Marcus was learning from Hammer. One saved person saving another. One second chance creating another. One biker choosing justice over revenge, growth over violence, hope over hate. Bear Sullivan never saw Marcus change. Never witnessed the kid who mocked his funeral become a man who honored his legacy. But Marcus knew Bear understood anyway, because men like Bear don't save people for gratitude. They save people because that's who they are. And now Marcus was trying to be that too. Not for fame, not for forgiveness he didn't deserve, not for redemption he couldn't earn, but because a biker named Hammer protected him at his worst and showed him how to be better. And because a veteran named Bear taught that biker the same lesson. The cycle continues. One broken person at a time. That's the real story, not viral videos or mob justice, but the quiet work of broken people helping other broken people become whole, one second chance at a time.